Everybody, welcome to Takeoff with John Clark, presented by Makefield Putters. And let's bring in the man. Nobody breaks down film better than Brian Baldinger. Baldy's breakdowns. Baldy, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you, John. It's good seeing you last weekend up there in Minnesota. They put that 2-game losing streak to bed and had basically a career day for some people. So that was good for any Eagle fan to watch. Although, John, when you're on the road, I don't know if you're flying with the team or if you're flying commercial. I'm not sure.
Commercial, not first class either, man. We're tall, we're big, but I don't get first class.
Well, I'm trying to get back home to Philly after that game, and you're every Eagle fan is flying back too, and so you're on these planes, and these people are like they win the game. Jalen has a career day. The receivers are like eating like never before this year, and they're just like chirping the whole time about how bad this is and why we can't do this. And I'm like, just enjoy, like Andy, like back in the day, like just enjoy that win, man. It's not bad.
I know. It's like, hey, how come they can't run the ball?
Yeah. It's they're never going to get it all right, for the fans, which is fine. I mean, we love them, but I mean, coming back on the road, even after, if there was a loss, forget it. But after a win, you're like, oh, at least they'll be like easing up a little bit. I got a lot of more attention than I wanted on that flight home.
Well, you stand out, man. You stand out. So you're going to be calling the Eagles again this Sunday.
Yes.
It worked this past Sunday in Minnesota, having you on the call for Compass Media. Giants coming back to Philly after what happened at MetLife Stadium. I mean, how hungry, especially with Jalen Carter being back after what Cam Scattaboo and they did to the Eagles, how hungry do you think this Eagles defense is going to be?
Well, I hope they are, John. I mean, I expect them to be. They're very familiar with the team. Obviously, just saw them a couple weeks ago. That's why they put me on the game, because as soon as the Giants won, they put me on the game, going, the rematch is coming. And so, it helped the Giants. It made the game bigger. But, yeah, I mean, they scored 5 touchdowns against Eagles, John. And that's with basically 2 rookies leading the charge. Like, if I'm Jalen, if I'm Zach, if I'm, anybody, Quinion, I got, he came out of that game. I'm looking for payback on this game. Like, they can't let the Giants do that. Although, this quarterback is pretty fearless for the Giants. And so I'm sure that, we'll get to it. But I mean, that collapse that they had in the fourth quarter on Sunday is historic.
Yeah, it's their worst fourth quarter collapse since the miracle at the Meadowlands.
So, is that right?
Yeah.
So it feels like it.
Yeah, and we'll see how they come out of that game and that collapse. I wanted to ask you, because the Eagles came out running in Minnesota on that first drive.
Yep.
And they even had 6 offensive linemen at some points, and so So the Vikings start to play them a little different. So now that the pass is opened up, do you think now against the Giants it'll be opened up for Saquon Barkley in the running game because of now what they've showed?
In theory, John, it should. I just think like it's like, as an organization, they want to make the passing game work. Even if Saquon is, doesn't look anything like the player. Because there's runs they haven't used yet, John. Like, I talked to all the guys. Like, I don't know where toss cracked. Like, they've got the 2 most athletic tackles in the league, in Jordan and Lane. I don't see them out there leading the charge the way Trent Williams is, or some of these other tackles. Like, I think there's plays that they can use that they haven't run yet, that are in the playbook. And so it's just a question right now of, okay, finding some runs that work and getting to it and really getting after it. And I'm not, maybe with the passing game opening up and play action pass working to a degree last week, maybe they'll start opening up the run game too, because it's there to be opened up.
Yeah, and that's one of the questions, as you said, on the flight back. That's one of the questions I keep getting. Like, Saquon had over 2,000 rushing yards last year, and they can't get him going. But you look at the offensive line. You being a former offensive lineman, give me an idea of how different this offensive line is this year, missing Becton and then injuries.
Well, I mean, here it is, John. I mean, this is the problem in a nutshell. Obviously, the big runs haven't hit yet, like they did a year ago, starting with the New Orleans Saints game in week 3 last year, when basically Saquon took the whole game over in the fourth quarter. But over 40% of his runs, but literally like 41% of his runs have gone for a yard or less. Like, that's just too many negative runs. And it's just too many runs where, okay, 2nd and 9, you're not going to run them again. You're probably going to, you probably see Shipley, in that situation. So they've got to get better on first down runs. There's no question, and more consistent. And and so look, Makai's not here, but Tyler Steen is actually playing good. He's a good player. Like Lane will brag about him all day long. Assignment wise, like he's very smart, he's very athletic, but they're not getting the push that Makai was getting. Obviously, the center position doesn't look like it did a year ago with Cam, and the athletic ability they had. He resembled, Kelsey quite a bit in some of those plays that he ran last year, and you don't see that athletic ability. And then, the left guard position has not been good. Landon has been banged up. He's playing through it, but he's got an assortment of injuries, and it's affecting the way he plays. And if you put Toth in there right now, there's a big drop-off from what Landon was a year ago.
So do you see them with Landon being banged up? Do you see them doing less pulling? Are there things they're doing less of from last year because of the situation with the offensive line?
I think so, John. I don't know if it's because of that, but they're not getting to the perimeter. They're not getting on the perimeter, whether it's folds or whether it's pin and pulls, or gut plays where they're pulling the onside center and guard. You're not seeing as much of that right now, and that might be because of Landon's condition, but I don't think that's entirely the case. I just think they got to, there's runs in that playbook that can showcase the strengths of a lot of those players.
Hey, and you said it, you were on the broadcast. Great job on the broadcast again in Minnesota. Jalen Hurts throws a great deep ball, and he loves throwing the deep ball. So what Eagles fans are asking me is, how come they didn't do more under center and play action these first 6 games?
I don't think Jalen really likes it. I think it's just a personal thing. I don't think he likes to turn his back to the defense. I think he likes to see everything in front of him. But there comes a point, even if you go back to the Dallas game, John, these teams are playing these shell defenses, and you just can't, they're just not giving you a lot of deep shots. They've gotten them in, even the first one, the opening touchdown, it was really Jalen just holding the ball, and then AJ just running a scramble drill, and he got medalists out there and Jalen threw a great ball to him. But even that wasn't, that wasn't a play action play. But you look at the great offenses, whether it's Indianapolis right now, you're looking at some of these teams that are really, you're looking at Seattle, you're looking at even Dak and Dallas. You're looking at these great offenses. The quarterbacks are under center, and they're taking deep drops, and they're faking it to a back that's 8 yards deep. And Saquon wants to be 8 yards deep. He doesn't mind being in that situation. It gives him more cutback lanes. And so I think it's going to be a part of the offense we're going to see more of. Because honestly, you have to do it in this league right now. You have to keep the defense in some kind of a bind, whether it's going to be a handoff or whether it's going to be a fake handoff, and allow the receivers to get down the field like they did, just the way Devontae did on the 79-yard touchdown catch and run.
A great point on that. And it's interesting because going into this game against Minnesota, I was saying, my goodness, you can't throw deep balls against Brian Flores' defense. They play the zone. They got, cover 2. But is it because of playing under center, coming out and running the ball a little bit, and then play action that you were able to kind of get those matchups that you wanted and get that going?
Yeah, I think so. Plus, they did not have a great pass rush. I talked to Jonathan Greener before the game. He's like, this is the best tandem of tackles in football. And honestly, nobody's beating Lane right now. And Jordan is, maybe one pass set the whole day you might want to question, but they're really good on the edges. And so you're going to get time. If you go max, Saquon could be a better pass protector than he was a couple times on Sunday. And he can play better in that role. But that's what teams are going to do. You got to max it up and run your speedo routes and get your 2 receivers in combination down the field to get the chunk plays. Because if you're getting chunk plays in this league, you're scoring points.
I remember Jalen Hurts once or twice, he would say something like, the offense is going to look how Jalen Hurts wants the offense to look. And I'll win any way possible. Doesn't matter how it looks. But, you have a new play caller, Kevin Patullo. Even though they've had a relationship, It takes a little bit of time. So do you think this is kind of an awakening, that mini buy, and then, okay, a little more under center in some of the changes they've made?
I do, John. I do think it's a little bit of that. And I think the run game is going to come because I don't think Saquon is any slower than he was a year ago. But I do think that every year it's a work in progress. It took 4 weeks and a bye week to get things on track last year. But even after they came back on track, I mean, I was talking to Petula about it the other day. Like, Carolina could have beaten the Eagles last year. Cleveland could have beaten the Eagles. Jacksonville could have beaten. They found a way to win the games. But people kind of forget because of the end result of the season that they went through growing pains a lot last year. And they struggled in a lot of games before they really found the rhythm. And they're going through it right now. But I believe they have the personnel and the people and what it takes, even if the offense line is banged up, like it is. Like I do think they have everything it takes to come out of this thing in a really good shape.
You just mentioned like how tight everything is. You've played in the league, you've covered the league for so long. I mean, right now in the NFC, you've only got 3, 4, 5 teams that have a losing record. You're looking at like 6 teams that are 5-2. Is this like wide open as never before?
Yeah, it's wide open. It is. I mean, we'll see what happens in Green Bay this week against Pittsburgh. But I mean, honestly, Dallas can score points with anybody right now. We got to see if they can fix things defensively. The trade deadline's coming up. It's going to be probably a real arms race to go after certain people, plucking good players off bad teams. That might change the balance a little bit. But I mean, honestly, when the Giants can go out to Denver and play as good as they did for 3 quarters. Now they collapsed, but when they can go out there with that roster and rookies all over the place and take a team like that to the brink, like this thing is completely wide open. And it's who's going to get hot at the right time right now.
And who's going to stay healthy, right? I mean, even the 49ers have a really good record, but they've been battling injuries the whole time.
Well, not just that, but to the 49ers credit, I mean, you got to look deep into your Ourlads, depth chart to find out who some of these guys are in San Francisco. But they played harder than any team I've seen play this year. And so you can overcompensate. You look at the Detroit Lions on Monday night. I mean, they started 2 safeties that had never played an NFL game before. And Tampa played the worst game they played in 3 years. So, I mean, really the injuries are part of it everywhere. Washington's going through it. The Eagles have certainly gone through it. But it's not an excuse because the good teams are getting the next guys up and they're playing good football.
Yeah, you're right. And the Eagles are down 4 pass rushers. They're going to get Nolan Smith back, hopefully after the bye or whatever. Brandon Graham is back to help out. And he was out there practicing full participant on Wednesday. So to me, it looks like he's going to play against the Giants.
Well, it honestly, John, I watched all the pass rushes. They had Jahad Campbell out there. He only rushed twice. But Jalen Hunt isn't winning. He's average. I mean, he made the play of the day. He's got the game ball last week. That's a great play. But they're not getting guys that can win off the edge right now. They just don't have it. Josh Uche had 1 good pass rush, and it came at a good time. But they're not getting any consistent pass rush off the edge. Jalen showed up a little bit last week for the first time this year. Like those shoulders are bad, and you can see that he's not 100%. But he looked a little bit like Jalen last week. They need help, and that's why Brandon's back. I don't think it was a high priority until it's a high priority. Now, he hasn't gone through any offseason, any training camp. Like, what can you actually expect? And you just hope. Didn't he tear his tricep twice last year, John?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, those things start tearing when you get older, and you play 15 years, 16 years now. I'm for Brandon's own benefit because he's such a great dude, and for everything he does, we love him. But I just am a little cautious. Like, okay, I know they hope he can get 10, 15 pass rushes a game. He can win a couple times, like he did against the Rams last year out there. He had a great game that day. Like, I'm sure they're going to try and temper it at least to begin with. But it's a real position of need right now.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned Jalen Carter, and you said he had the good game at Minnesota. And I had heard you say, watching him on film, he didn't really do much this year.
No.
He had the heel, obviously, at MetLife Stadium and didn't play. So he had a mini bye, and he looked better. How much do you think, after this Giants game, having a full bye week, how much do you think that'll help him? Because you said it, he's been playing hurt with the shoulder.
Yeah, well, I mean, he got the hit on Carson that, Jalen's intercepted the ball, and he beat the center. It's a backup center, but he beat him clean, and he put a real hit on Carson. I think that affected the throw. But, whether it did or not, I mean, that was the best pass rush he's had all year. And so they need him. They need him to win. Like, he's going to get – I'm sure the Giants are going to look at him like they have always looked at him, like, you got to double team this guy. You got to put 2 on him. It's going to open up things for somebody else. He's going to get the attention. So, Jordan and, Mojo, somebody else has to win if they're able to take Jalen out. But he's been good enough in the last 2 years prior to this year to beat double teams and still affect things. Like, he's got a good arsenal of ways to win, but they need him to be great for this defense to start stepping up.
And you got Nakobe Dean back, and you watch him on film. Just for me watching from the press box, it seems like he has such great instincts with the running game and gets in that backfield. How much does he bring?
He brings a lot, John. The thing is in this league, if you sit there at linebacker and just catch blocks, you're going to give up runs. You're just going to give up runs in this league. These guys, they're too big up front. Like, you've got to attack the line of scrimmage. And that's the best thing that Nakobe does. And then it's a question of, are you in the right gap? Are you going to make a hero play by just thinking you go here and you open up a gap someplace else? He plays pretty disciplined, but he attacked the line of scrimmage. It was noticeable. They found a way to play both Jihad and Nakobe last week. When they do that, Jihad's really an outside linebacker. He's covering tight ends. He's in the curl flat. He's a true linebacker. And so but it's a position of need in this defense right now. So it's a luxury that Nakobe's back when they need some, an edge player right now. So we'll see what happens, if Brandon plays more this week and they get some pass rush, how much of that defense we looked, which was a 5-man front, a reduced front with Jihad outside and Jalen outside and Nakobe inside with Zach, like how much of that they play this week.
So it's an interesting point you made, though, because obviously Nakobe plays the run really well. But if you're taking Jihad out of that spot, it seems like he is not able to unleash all of the things he's capable of. And maybe he is not the best pass rusher just yet, right? Like, he's still learning, right?
Yeah, 2 pass rushes the whole game. I mean, he really wasn't used as a pass rusher. He it was almost like that, like last year when they had Bryce Huff, like he just couldn't play that position. Now, Jihad has linebacker ability. I like to see more pass rush from him because I don't think he's terrible. I think he's got a good get off. That's a good start. Basically, Andrew Thomas has been unbeatable at the left tackle position. So if you're watching this thing, this Sunday, like, see if anybody can beat Andrew out there. He looks like he's pitched a shutout in a couple of games he's been back. But there is a balancing act there where Jihad is better inside, no question. His instincts, his speed is noticeable. But then that doesn't get Nakobe on the field. So then, okay, how can you best get 3 of your better players on the field and playmakers? And so that's what Vic is balancing right now.
Yeah, and Vic's also balancing that in the secondary. So going into this trade deadline, you think Howie would more likely trade for a pass rusher or a corner?
I had this debate with one of the players this week, John. I won't say who it was, but I said I would go corner because I feel like everybody's going after, whether it's Keeley over there or Dory, like they're just going after him. And, the Giants did, certainly. I feel like corner, and I don't know Jacorian's situation. Like, I don't know what his deal is. I don't see him out there right now. But, they absolutely made the trade for him, and they gave him a good player in Booker to get him. So I think corner is a position of need right now. I don't see anybody else in the roster, but they got to upgrade the position, John. In this league, if you go to play Dallas in a couple of weeks with Pickens and CD right now, and you're with what you have, and the way Dak is playing, you better score 35 that day at least.
Yeah, think about it. Eagles come out of the bye, go on to Green Bay, and then short week, Detroit's coming here, and then Dallas, right? Or Dallas.
Oh, it's a tough schedule, John.
Yeah.
It's tough. They're going to get tested. This game they have to win this game. They have to win this game this week, and they can get healthier and maybe get some new bodies in here or whatever. But they got a tough stretch coming up.
Hey, I'm John Clark, and we are here in Bensalem, PA at Makefield Putters, and I got to tell you, we want to thank them for being our new sponsors of the Takeoff Podcast. And I've got putting issues when I get out there. I'm 6'5", and I had to get a custom putter. When I got this custom putter here, it changed my putting game. When it's wintertime and we go get jackets, different size people need different size jackets. Well, we got to get a custom putter for our size, our type of swing and everything. They break it all down for you. They build up the putter from scratch. They have all the data, the analytics, the statistics to get you to be a good putter. And when I came here to Makefield Putters and I started to use my custom putter, I got to tell you, I make it with Makefield. So next time you're on the course with Makefield putters, go birdies. All right, I want to ask you about A.J. Brown, because it's a hard situation to read as far as, like, is he happy? Because we saw on the broadcast, TV broadcast, he caught 4 passes, maybe not as many as, he probably wanted more, but 121 yards, 2 touchdowns. Him and Jalen had the great communication. Then he says into the camera, throw me the bleeping ball. And then we see an Instagram post, use me, but don't use me. Something along those lines. So I'm trying to read into this. Like, what do you think is going on? What's the dynamic?
It's really perplexing, John, because there's been playoff games they've won where he didn't get the ball and he was the unhappiest person in the locker room. That's real. There's a part of AJ that literally his mentality is like the mentality of, I don't know, Jalen Carter. Like, he just wants to dominate his opponent. And if he's not getting the ball, he doesn't feel like he's doing what he's capable of doing. Now, is that greed? Is that throw me the ball? Like, well, you saw what he did to the Rams in the fourth quarter. Like, he destroyed Emmanuel Forbes or Darius Williams. That makes him happy. I don't think anything else maybe his daughter. Like, I don't think anything else makes him happy. Like, I think he's going to brood. Like, if he doesn't get that opportunity this week to go against Deontay Banks and destroy him, and just literally beat him into submission. Like, that's what gives him, like, joy, I think.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we saw that against Washington last year.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, no. This a couple of weeks, if he gets Marshawn Lattimore out there and, like, he can't destroy Marshawn Lattimore, like, no matter what the score is, I think he's going to walk off the field kind of unhappy.
So, obviously, last year, the receivers, they sacrificed a little bit. Even Devontae, I think Devontae was quieter about it. He wants the ball. You can tell by him recommending to Kevin Patullo that play. But are you worried that this would be a simmering problem again? Like, Brandon Graham had to step in last year and put it out publicly to kind of get Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown on the same page or a meeting of the minds. Are you worried that this is simmering again?
Yes. But I don't think it's just A.J. and Devontae. I think it's an organizational thing. I just think they believe that there's a part of me that says they want to show the world that Jalen's a top 5 quarterback. And by running the ball 725 times last year, we don't get to showcase that. Even though we're the best team in football and he's the MVP. I think there's a part of the organization that says you've got to throw it to be elite. You've got to be Mahomes and Andy Reid. Like, I think there's some of that. And it's not just the receivers. I think I don't think that Jalen disagrees with that either. I think he wants to be thought of like that. And so, to me, it's like, do what you have to do to win the game. And that's what it should be. But I do think there's simmering things that are going on. And I don't think it's just players. I think there's coaches that are kind of at it a little bit about how what's the best way to do it. This isn't a secret, but they're a big analytics team. They spent a lot on analytics. And I remember when Doug Peterson was here, like, he would tell me, like, they were making decisions, to go for a 4th down on Wednesday. Like, there was that involved. And I think last year, you could throw all that out the window because of the year Saquon had and how they won these games and what they did in the postseason. But I do think that there's an organizational belief that this is modern day football. This is what you have to do. And I don't know. I don't think I'm breaking any news about any of this stuff. I think that it's out there a little bit. I think it's more than just receivers getting the ball.
Yeah, and Kevin Patullo obviously comes into a situation this year, Baldy, where he's got the relationships with everybody, but you've got different guys wanting different things. And you got to feed each segment of the offense, right? You got to keep everybody happy. So if Jalen Hurts now sees, whether he was pushed or not, to have more under center plays, you get the deep passing game going, you get AJ involved. Do you think Jalen needed to adjust a little bit and Kevin Patullo kind of pushing him to kind of bring some of these things?
I do. I think that's right. Without, having Jalen here to ask the question to, I think that's fair. And I think it is going to be, I don't think they should just come out and throw the football to placate receivers. Like, I just don't believe that. AJ's a hell of a blocker. Like, he's important in the run game. Some of those big runs last year because Jalen's a great blocker. Now, is he going to be a great blocker if he's not getting the ball? I don't know. Most receivers, maybe a couple of them might, maybe a couple of them might like placate, to the offense to do that. But there's just going to be this balancing act, John. It's not going to go away, no matter how many games they win.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. And it's not just because you have so much talent. Receivers are naturally like this. I mean, all of the great receivers are kind of like this, right?
And it's not necessarily a diva thing. There are divas out there. Don't get me wrong. I don't think AJ or Devontae are divas. I don't believe that. Devontae barely opens his mouth, like he barely celebrates, The guy's just a phenomenal football player when the ball's in the air. Like, he's as good as anybody. But I do think, that they want to show like they're the difference makers too. Like they want to be as important as the offense line protecting or opening up holes or anything like that. So there is some of that. I don't necessarily think it's necessarily a bad thing, but there's going to be, like they scored the opening drive last week, John, and then they literally took a 25-minute nap and nothing happened. And I'm sure there was like some tempestuous moments on the sideline without like looking at their sideline the whole game. I'm sure there was some chattering going on at that point.
Yeah, it's a wild thing because they do have so much talent on offense, but it all comes back to the offensive line, right? I mean, that's
no question.
That's everything.
Yeah, it's everything. It's the foundation. And, to Howie's credit, like he's been really good at making sure that, the lines are deep and strong. And, that's why Brandon is back right now. And it won't surprise me to see him make some kind of a move before the trade deadline.
Yeah, and Baldy, I wasn't surprised. I shouldn't say I wasn't surprised, but that result at MetLife Stadium the first time, short week, Landon Dickerson out, Jalen Carter out. You're basically taking away two of your absolute best players on both sides of the line. That was kind of like one of those, like the game in Tampa last year where you're like, you know what? I can understand why they lost this game, but it was the way they were pushed around by the Giants that surprised me.
And then they 2 weeks in a row, they were a 17-point offense. And so, 17 points in this league, no matter who you can play the Jets, and 17 points might not be enough to win, a lot of these games. So, they've got to be a lot more productive than they have been. And not as many, 3 and outs, which we've seen this year, which is far too many right now.
Final question for you, Baldy. If you were to say the Eagles can be a championship team this year again, are you more in with the offense being able to be a championship team or the defense?
I'd say the offense, even though they've struggled just as much. I'd say I'm more in to them a championship team with the offense. Defensively, I think they've got real question marks right now. And, if you don't have pass rush or ways to affect the quarterback in this league right now, the guys are too good. Baker, Dak, just go through the guys right now in this business. Jared Goff, the guys that they would see in the postseason. If you're not affecting these quarterbacks at a high level right now, you're going to give up a lot of points.
And I tell you, Joe Flacco may be the reason why the Eagles can't get Trey Hendrickson now, right? That's
probably exactly right. Like they have hope right now. Now we'll see what happens. They play the Jets this weekend, but they should get the second win in a row. But Joe coming off his couch and doing that stuff that he's doing, they got the perfect guy in there in that offense.
It's awesome to see. Hey, Baldy, great job again, man. I tell you, your Baldy breakdowns are fantastic.
Appreciate that, John. Thank you.
I love when I see at the games, the players all gravitate to you because they love how you break down the intricacies of the game and show people what some of the other guys are doing, the dirty work, and then, you put the truth out there.
Well, look out for LaSalle High School's Philadelphia's own Abdul Carter this week.
Uh-oh.
I think he grew up, in Philly, knowing the Eagles. He hasn't had a dominant game yet, but he's got ability. So I would keep an eye. Brian Burns is playing at an all-star level, but just keep an eye on 51 of the Giants this week.
Good call. Well, we're going to hear you on Compass Media, the call, Eagles-Giants rematch. We're going to see Baldy's breakdowns on your social media, your Twitter and Instagram. So keep up the great work, man.
Thanks, Sean. You got it, buddy. Thank you.
Greatest. Oh, mom, so flagrant.